All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for choosing us out of 2 other things you could anyways have chosen. We are honored to be here.
Yeah. So first off, the agenda, or the red thread, as we say in Denmark. I don't know if that's an international thing. First, we'll introduce ourselves, talk a bit about who we are, why we're here. Then we'll talk a bit about why developer experience is not the same thing as platform engineering. We've seen a lot of people, especially on LinkedIn, who says this, and that's wrong. Then we'll talk a bit about what we think developer experience is. And then we wanted to share a bit about some of our journeys and learnings that we have from our 2 companies, because we actually don't work together anymore. We used to, and we also organize us together, but we actually work in 2 different companies in Denmark. And we want to share a bit about what we learned from those companies. And eventually we'll get to the point, or we'll, the learnings so far. Yeah. So my name is, and I'll say it slowly, Henrik Høegh. Everybody says, my name is Henrik Høegh. There's been some talks about age today. This is my first computer, a Commodore 64, mostly used to play International Karate 3+++ Turbo, I think it was called. Awesome game. I made a small online program that printed a bit about me. So I work at VELUX. We make rooftop windows, and only rooftop windows. We don't do ordinary windows. That's not fun. I'm a senior manager of the platform engineering department, or area, whatever you call it. We are 3 teams right now, and growing. So that's me. I'm an organizer, Cloud Native Aarhus, KCD, Denmark, a lot of meetups. Also where I met Ophelia. I've been using Kubernetes since 16, Docker since 13. A lot of fun stuff there. That's me.
Yes, and my name is Ophelia. You can just keep that. I work in Danske Bank right now, and my current role is modernization and engineering lead. And what does that mean? So I was basically hired to lead a mission of getting the core banking system out of mainframe, which for many people seems to be impossible. That's why they hired me. So that is, I have been all the way around in IT with different roles, different companies, and I've really been suffering from poor developer experience even before the word actually existed. And that was actually one of the reasons that pushed me down the dark path of management. So I've been seeking the truth, seeking the solution, the answer of how to actually generate or create the best environment for people, for the engineers. So that's also why I'm on the stage here. I hope to share some of my thoughts and reflections, and hope it benefits you guys.
Yeah. So if you read LinkedIn, which I do a lot, you'll see that a lot of people talk about platform engineering, and some people say, well, DevX is just good platform engineering. I disagree with that. I'm actually quite good at that. What we believe is that what they're talking about is a subset. So I think it's a Venn diagram, if it's scientific. You have developer experience, or DUX, and then you have platform engineering. And then in the middle here, you have platform user experience. How easy is the platform to use? You know, all that stuff. How happy are they? How much do you empower them? And so on. But there's a lot of stuff over here that doesn't really have anything to do with the platform. And we want to talk a bit about that today. We also want to talk a bit about the stuff in the middle, because that's what I do. So, Ophelia?
Yeah, so what we believe is developer experience. There are many models out there, and the one that we choose to use in this talk, also the one we think reflects mostly the reality we have seen, is the one where developer experience consists of 3 elements: flow state, cognitive load, and feedback loop. And these 3 elements are not isolated individuals, but they are influential to each other. So for this talk, we're going to dive a bit more into flow state and cognitive load, and we're going to look at the relation between these two. And then we go to cognitive load.
Yes, so cognitive load theory is from education, comes from some universities, I think, smart people. What they say is that we all have a certain amount of memory, or cognitive working memory, they call it. And in there we can have things when we try to solve problems or learn things. So in universities it's all about learning. Here it's about solving problems or delivering value and so on. And depending on which paper you read or blogs you read, then the first thing that enters is the extraneous load. Some say it's intrinsic load, but it doesn't really matter much because the last one that enters is the germane load. And if you spend too much working memory on the first two ones, you don't really have room for the last one. And that's the problem. If you try to do more than you can have in your working memory, it causes stress and actually harm to people. And this is what you can apply to teams or organizations or individuals. These are just some examples. I think we'll go. So some people have put some good words on each of these that I really like. One is that extraneous load is a lot about distractions. So anything that distracts you from the core thing you need to do or learn, either the thing doing it or actually delivering, right? So it could be releasing, how does GitOps work? That's a distraction. I just want to release it, right? Extraneous load, they categorize as complexity. So in learning, it could be how easy is the task to understand. Do I have the capabilities or the skills to actually do this? Do I know what prime numbers are and so on? And then the deeper learning happens in the germane load. This is where we get stuff into the long-term memory and we can actually learn stuff. In companies, or in this context, it's about delivering value, understanding our customer, and so on. So if we take the developer journey, we have some end users, we have who has a problem, we have a PO, it's not a yellow bear, but a product owner. And then we have developers, and they need to get to deliver value here at the end, right? And the first thing they encounter is a troll of extraneous load, not an internet troll, an actual troll. And this is all the extraneous load, and it's blue like the color of so it's a bit about GitOps, Kubernetes, all that stuff. How does that work? And then you spend time on that instead of saying, release my stuff. That would be much easier. Security. There's a new ingress nightmare hashtag thing going on right now. Does every developer need to know the details of that? Or simply a signal, hey, please don't release this. Would be nice. Stuff like that. Those are distractions from actually being a developer and delivering value. It takes hit points, if you know Dungeons and Dragons, to slay this bastard. And then when you're done with that, you will face the dragon of intrinsic load. And this is your core competencies. This is the complexity of what you do as a developer. So it could be, how easy is it for me to test my code? How well-defined are the domain, and so on. When you're done with that, if you have any hit points left, you will meet the wizard of germane load. And this is where the domain is. This is where the persona is, getting to know your users, the problem and the solution and all these things. And the more XP you have when you meet the wizard, the more likely you are to deliver value, or good value. So good. There's a pop-up here. So that's the journey many developers go through. The learning I would like to share in this very simple drawing is we did some value chain mapping. It's the thing you do when you do Wortley mapping. I think people call it user need mapping or something like that. But basically, we go out and we talk to our developers. We actually hired a platform advocate who could go out and talk and meet our developers and learn their problem. And one of the needs they have, they need to release, they need to be able to test, they need to build a container, they need to, all these things. And the problem is, a lot of companies that I've seen is they find a tool for each of these. And how many tools do the developers need to know and use on a daily basis, right? So what we try to do instead is we try to abstract something away. So the easy one over here is that, well, they need Git, because we use Git. And with Git, you can do support, because we do that in issues. We can do commits and push and so on. And I should probably not mention that you cannot technically create PRs with Git, because then you'll notice the error here. But for this talk, you can, magically. Git, of course, in our case, depends on GitHub. There are also some struggles internally, what to use. It is GitHub, if you're from VELUX. We also have Backstage. We started with an empty Backstage installation. We did not want to make any assumptions, and then we started talking to our developers and see what is it you actually need. They would like a catalog. They would like some self-service. We actually talked a lot with them about what kind of self-service they want. Releasing is kind of a lie. We are working on it. It's new. So you heard it first. And we make some plugins that it depends on. We actually donated some of these plugins to Keynote project and to Backstage project. Then we have all of these, and there's a lot more they need, right? So do we have 100 million tools, or what do we do? No. We made a CLI called Bora, which is a Latvian name for sail on a ship, because we are all crazy about Kubernetes, and everything is C theme and starts with a K. So we're not quite there. But what we do here is that all of these things like releasing, testing, building a container, Bora can do that for you. It doesn't really know how to do that. The implementation of these things we put in something we call a plan, which is just a repository, and then Bora depends on that. And the plan then depends on all these tools that a lot of developers in other companies are used to dealing with on a daily basis. A lot of extraneous load in my mind. So a developer in VELUX only needs to learn Bora, Git, and Backstage. If you go to Amazon, you need to learn the AUS CLI, the AUS website, and that's it. You can do everything with that. We're trying to do the same with all. You can, of course, opt out on any of these steps on one step locally in a repo, and then you can edit it. So it's not a golden cage. So this is our value chain mapping we did, and it's worked quite nicely. We have roughly 60 developers, and in 1.5 years ago, we had 5 releases per month when we started these initiatives, and now we have roughly 2,300 releases per month. And it's growing steeply, so it's only beginning, I think. This is what it looks like. You can do Bora status. You can see which versions are released in what environments and the status of these as a developer. You can do Bora list tasks. You can see there's a build container, push container, and then you can run that. Bora run build container. You get a container. You can do it on your laptop in CI/CD, on your mother's laptop, or whatever you have at hand. And it works in the same way. So if the security scan fails in pipeline, you can actually do it with one command, shortening the feedback loop. Instant feedback, trademark. This is our Backstage. It has grown a bit. We have made some plugins, and not really interesting. Yes, so we know this is not 100%, but we see the platform as the thing that can lower or reduce the extraneous load, the complicated subsystems, and enabling teams to reduce the intrinsic or simplify the intrinsic load. And then we get more cognitive load, working memory left for the good stuff, right? So we are very inspired by this in VELUX. So again, what I've talked about is just the middle thing. We are missing out on all of this stuff on the left if we think developer experience is just platform engineering.
So now we're going to look at the rest of the circle, what actually is there. And one of the reflection I have had when giving this task of, hey, Ophelia, you have 30 FTEs you can use, build the teams like you think it should be done in the way that you think is right, and give me the new core banking system. It's kind of like an ungrateful job. But what you usually start with is always, for any organization, you start with a North Stars, a vision. For me, there is to get out of mainframe, delivering the new flexible core. And you always start with an organization. You define for the resources I have, this is the way I think is best to organize them. And some of them will have these functionalities and responsibilities. Some of them are more related than others. Some is further apart than others, as you can see. And what usually happens is like, you think you have built the team, now go deliver. But what also usually happens at this point is that people, based on their intention and based on how they understood the task, the North Star when they got hired, they will pick a direction they think is most appropriate and run. So what happens? People run in all the different directions. And what usually happens after that as a treatment is we implement some processes. So some formal processes, one framework after another. If that doesn't work, we put in one more. And then at the end, the organization also becomes heavier to run. Because which process should I follow to deliver what? And usually at this point, depends on the culture you have already built. Your people will get frustrated because they really want to reach the North Star. What would they do? They will start to develop some informal processes, trying to shortcut things, trying to get things done because they really want to get things done. And if that doesn't work, they implement some more. So at this point, you may or may not get some value out of it. And in my case, it was after half a year stepping into this, and why are we not proceeding? Why are we not progressing? So we kind of reiterated on this and said, are we really getting the value out of the investment? So how does this relate to development journey and cognitive load? So let's look at this journey again. And now let's just assume that Danske Bank has solved everything that is to solve within the POX space, for this talk's sake. So you still have the troll of extra nervous load, actually, because they will still be there, and they will still be the distraction for your people. They will keep asking the questions, what is my purpose here? What is my purpose in the bigger picture? And also, when I need to do something that is so big as delivering a new core banking system, I need more than just my team of 10 people. I need other people. I need the rest of the organization. How do I do that? How do I collaborate with them? They will still have to ask these questions and answer them to get past the troll. And then next, they will still meet the dragon of intrinsic load because they are new. Maybe you have some old existing organization with some existing people, and then you hire some new people in. Both of people are new in this situation. They're not feeling safe. They will ask the question like, can I speak up? Can I ask for help? What is it like? Is this a person actually who wants to go to the journey with me? So that will still be the complexity they need to handle within their mind. And at the end, leaving very little space for the wizard, for them to actually delivering value. So what worked in our case was, by the design, we looked at how do we change this situation so we can get more value out of our investment. And some of the reflection I have seen both as like from startup situation, but also in more mature organization, was that there are things you can actually do, but you need to know what you're doing. And for the troll of extraneous load, the main point is to have purpose. Design your organization around purpose instead of around roles and responsibilities, because those are going to change. The situation are going to change, but purpose is going to be the North Star within their mind and heart that keeps them straight. And the next thing is use your organizational design to solve long-term problem. Only use process to solve short-term problem. And that's how you get past the troll. So for the dragon, what I believe is really important is to be deliberate regarding the culture you need to succeed. Because for different situations, it might be different culture. Be deliberate and cultivate the culture carefully. Do not take it as granted. Especially in rapid growth situation, you might think that your existing people can keep the culture that used to keep them succeeding and spread it out. But usually that's not the case because it's a new situation. So keep cultivating it. Do never take it as granted. And then the last thing is lead by example. You have to lead by example, and the leaders under you also need to lead by example. As soon as they are not only hearing you saying this is important, but not seeing you doing it and prioritizing it, they're going to follow what you do, not what you say, just like children. This also means, so that's how you get past the dragon. And that is how you leave the maximum room for your developer to focus on what is it they actually are here for, to solve the problem, to generate value. And just to look back on this diagram here, this is some part of the rest of the circle. So now we are getting to the point.
Yeah. Finally. Now, the first thing is the extraneous load. We need to reduce distractions. I really love the word distractions here because I think we've distracted developers a lot, especially with all the as code thing, right? Teraball form or whatever it's called, and all the stuff we threw at developers. Let's not do that anymore. Let's make a good product for them to use their language and so on. And as Ophelia talked about, purposeful organizations and processes and so on. There's a lot we can do for developers. So we should see them as our customers when we build platforms.
This, and for intrinsic load, the most important thing is to simplify it, because you're not going to be able to remove it 100%. It is part of the craftsmanship. It is part of how human works. And the solution is to focus on complicated subsystem for the part that really should be isolated away, and enabling teams for functions that you might not need on a daily basis. And then at the end also deliberately cultivate the culture you need and want, and lead by example. So at the end, we will be able to maximize the domain load. This is where the real value is generated, and to generate the real value, your developers need to be in the zone. So that is basically our talk.
Yeah. And if you want to see Bora or talk Dungeons and Dragons, just find us in the hall. They're closer related than you might think. Yeah, and hook us up on LinkedIn. That's where we correct people.
Correct people.
Amazing.